Okie dokie. I think we are live. So, yeah, as you can see, it's just me because Alex couldn't turn up today. And unfortunately, I have a week from hell, shall we say. I have a fully booked calendar with shit I have to do and people I have to talk to. So, we couldn't move this to Thursday. And maybe it's better that way because I like keeping things consistent and not changing them last minute because I know that might screw up your schedule as well. And I don't like doing that. So it's just me today, which means that if you have any questions about anything that I've been coaching Alex on before or anything cravings related, whatever it is that, anything personal that you want help with, you can just ask me and I shall answer you live. But I have a couple of announcements to make as well. So the first one is that in April I had a challenge, or we had the boot camp, Master Your Cravings, which I don't know if I put it into this description for the live stream, but on most of my videos, if I haven't, I will add that as well. You can request to see the replay of that if you want to learn how to master your cravings, basically. So we go through everything that you need to know in terms of managing the cravings and not giving into them. So you will have all the tools that you need. The second thing is that when I had this boot camp, I did send out a survey after asking people what they wanted next and how they want things to change. And I've taken all of that on board, and we are now going to have a different type of challenge, which will be 5 days of changing habits. I'm working on the sign up link for that. That will be up later today. So that's one of the things that is on my schedule to sort out today. I have spent so many hours trying to get the tech to work, and then all of a sudden, why I have no idea, my website seems to have crashed. And then I send a message to the support team, and they're like, we can't see anything wrong. So it came back up on its own. Anyhow, I'm almost there. There are a couple of things I need to check and I need to do, but it will come up later today. So if you're in the US, maybe check that tomorrow. And once that's up, I will put the link to sign up for that challenge in the description. So why I've chosen 5 days of changing habits is because I asked in the Facebook group. I gave a few suggestions. I think I had 5 different ideas. And there was an overwhelming bias towards learning how to change habits. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to spend 5 days doing that, and I will go through all of that then. So I'm not going to explain it here. You can also go to the sign up page. I will have a little bit more information there. What else did I want to say about that? That's probably that. And yeah, when does it start? So it starts on my Monday, the 22nd. So if you're in the US, that will be Sunday, the 21st of August. So that is in 12 days. I was meant to have this up roughly 2 weeks before we started, but things never work out, do they? There's still plenty of time. So once you sign up, what will happen is you will get a few emails just to prepare for the challenge, have a little think about things, and then you will be getting access to a special dedicated Facebook group for this challenge where I will be live streaming. So you need to be in that group if you want to watch the live streams. Okay. Let's see if we have any questions. I have many questions. That seems like a godsend. Yeah. So I don't want to waste these for me Wednesday mornings. I want to keep it going. And I know this is not Alex's fault, but when he got COVID and then we have had to move it to forward a day a couple of times, the viewer numbers and the attendance live is just dropping dramatically. So I really want to keep it consistent and be here as much as I can so that people actually know that this is what's happening on this channel. I want it to be a reliable thing that you can rely on and you can just show up for because you know that is going to happen. So yeah, maybe it is a good thing. I shall be here anyway. Let's see. I'm reading these as we go along. So I recently added cottage cheese to my 99% carnivore diet. I found my left foot swelling up really fast. I still have occasional diet sweetener drinks. Is it more likely the dairy or the sweeteners? If you got that when you added cottage cheese, it's probably the dairy. If you added both that and sweeteners, I would just cut them out and add one thing at a time and see what's happening. What's more likely? I will bet my money on the dairy, but everyone's different. So yeah, you just have to try it, but I would still guess the dairy. 2, I want to start converting all your wonderful advice to the German language to push to Central Europe, the carnivore diet that is. Can I book like a 2-3 hour session, or are you out of time this month? No, I'm not out of time, but send me an email and tell me what it is that you want to do and what we can do. I'll see if I can put that. See? That's my email. So if you send an email, let me know what it is that you want to do and how I can help. As you know, I'm more about the mental thing, the addiction part of the diet. Yes, I'm a nutritionist, but I'm generally not working with that. So just let me know what it is that you want, and I will let you know how we can get there, basically. Next one. How important is actual fasting, 72 hours plus, for reducing excess skin? I did OMAD for 2 weeks, and some people, like Bella, they told you don't need fasting for skin loss. What is your guess on that? The longer you fast, the more autophagy you will have. So 3 days is probably minimum to get a good result in that aspect. Yes, if you are eating very few carbohydrates and you're eating OMAD, there would be some of that going on. So I would say that's probably a case by case basis how well that is going to work. If you have a lot of excess skin, I would just try to really stock up on the food, as in good food, and do a longer period of fast when you're fully saturated with nutrition, etc. Right. Next. Regarding the consult, I, as most Austrian Germans, understand spoken English very well, but since we never talk it weekly, my spoken language is kind of flawed, so I would prep some points to start. Yeah, that's fine. I will understand you. Like, it's not. I have this belief, I guess, and I have been working on it, but probably not enough. When I moved from Sweden to the UK, I had an extraordinary vocabulary in Swedish, and I was really good at expressing myself and being very well spoken. And I used to not swear a lot. I moved to the UK, I had to start speaking baby English, and I was frustrated all the time because I couldn't say what I wanted to say. And I still have that. There are ways. I have thoughts and ideas in my head that I want to express a certain way, and when I say it in English, it just comes out and it doesn't sound right. It isn't telling what I want to say, and that is super frustrating. So that's just something that happens and something that I have to just accept. Because now I've been away from Sweden for 13 or 14 years, and my English is fine. People understand it. The only one who has a problem with it probably is me. So don't worry too much about that. It's gonna be fine. As long as you are understood, and Germans, I find, are expressing themselves pretty well. It's usually not a problem. I'm really appreciative of you firing the answers left and right. Thanks for that. Well, you're the only one here. You're the only one. Well, you're not the only one here, but you are the only one posting the questions right now. So I'm just getting them up. So I had a little backup plan as well that I wanted to talk about because this is something that I see a lot. Most people who join the Facebook group, they have to tell me, why are you here? What do you want help with? And one of the most common things that I see is that I need some accountability, or I can't stop eating the carbs or whatever it might be. It's some variation of that I am out of control. I don't know how to do this. It's just something that is happening and I don't know how to take control of it. So it's a variation of that. And to that I want to talk a little bit about commitment. We think somehow that just because we decide that, yeah, I don't want to eat sugar anymore, or I don't want to eat carbs or processed carbs or whatever it is that you decide that you don't want to eat, then it should be a done deal. Like, I decided that, so now that should happen. And it's not that easy. When you commit to something, that is going to be your focus. That is, if you are committing to not eating sugar, for example, like in my case, I'm committed to not eating sugar until New Year's Eve. That's when I'm going to have an experiment with myself and see. I have a few ideas what I want to do. So this is what I'm going to focus on. And I'm going to keep going until I succeed. And in my case, since I have a specific date, like I want to be sugar-free for a year, then I know that as long as I'm on track, I'm making progress. But along the way, I want to learn to be okay with it. I want to not think about it all the time. I mean, I could do this and be obsessing about it, but that wouldn't be very pleasurable. And right now, I'm just not thinking about it at all. It's not a problem. I don't think, oh my God, I want it to be New Year's Eve so that I can have some ice cream. I don't really want ice cream, but I'm probably going to have it anyway because I have a plan for what I want to do. I want to use the same worksheet that I'm using with my clients. You have seen Alex use that in one of the previous streams when we're eating mindfully and really paying attention. And I want to see how my body is reacting to having such sweet things again. I want to see if my body is going to be like, holy shit, could I really have eaten this and loved it before? Or is it going to go straight back into, oh my God, this is so nice, I want more? So this is kind of like an experiment. So I've made this quite exciting for myself so that I want to keep my focus on it. However, since it's such a long time period right now, I'm not focusing on it 100% of the time because I don't need to. There is nothing more for me to do here. I have arrived, if you like. I'm not thinking about sugar. I'm not tempted. I don't have. Sometimes I have, you know, I always have cravings, and it might be like, oh, maybe I should go and eat something of that. But no, now it's more general. Oh, maybe I should go eat, rather than obsessing about a specific type of carb or sugar, whatever it is. So when you're committing to something, if you join the Facebook group and you're like, yes, I'm committed, I am going to quit this and I want to make it happen. What you do is that you keep trying things to see what's working, and then you keep going. If one thing doesn't work, figure out why it wasn't working, tweak that, and or if it's untweakable for whatever reason, move on to the next thing. Okay, what else can I try? We don't give up. We just keep trying new things because right now you don't know what's going to work for you. What I'm teaching my clients and what's in all those recordings for Master Your Cravings that you can request is something that I find works 100% of the time for 100% of the people that are using it. So the glitch here is when you are not fully committed, you have a strategy, you have the tools to make it work, but you're not using them. How are they going to work? They're not going to work because you're not committed. So what you have to commit to is to keep trying new things until you find the thing that is working, and also the troubleshooting. So I know that this is working, so you don't really have to keep looking for new things. You can just take what I'm teaching you and implement it. If it doesn't work, it's probably because you're not committed and you are hiding from some negative emotion, most likely, and you're using other excuses for it, right? So, commitment is just about channeling your focus on one thing or one goal and sticking with it until you get to where you want to be. It is really that simple. But if you're going to give up, of course, it's not going to work. And um, whoop, I'm trying to sit down. So there's another thing that I was thinking about as well that people generally think that they need, and that is accountability. I got very far down. I'll stand up again. They need accountability and they need support. And support is great, and you can get it in many different shapes or forms. I mean, you can have a friend supporting you, you can be in the Facebook group and get some support, you can get a coach and get some support. All of that is great. But what I'm teaching my clients, for example, is that they can have my support, but they can also have their own support. So we're working on building up that skill of supporting yourself so that you're not dependent on other people's support. You need to be able to depend on your own support. And then the accountability is it's kind of a fine line. It's almost like you are going to do it just because you want to people please. You don't want other people to think that you're a failure. You already know that you're a failure, right? But you don't want other people to think that you're a failure. And that's the reason why you're going to do something. And this works maybe as long as you can have that accountability with someone. But it's not a very good permanent solution because as soon as the accountability partner is gone or whatever, you're probably going to fall back into old habits because now there's no one checking you, there's no one you have to be accountable to and make some excuses. So why would you do it? So that's another thing. Be accountable to yourself. Like, why do you want to do this? Because you want to be different. You want to do things differently. So those were just a few things that I thought about that we could talk about. Let's see, there is Austrian carnivore. You're really commenting today. You have a lot of comments. I have a whole book here. So I'll just read them all. I'll get them up one after one. I believe you're such a great source of information. I want to value your time supporting not only the viewers, but also the people to tune in after it went live. Well, thank you. Weaning it down 1 to 5% every day. Is that the dairy we are talking about? And it worked. Got that trick from Dr. Berry. Okay. Yeah, I think if you're weaning off a food, I think that is a really good way of doing it because that is going to be the kind way towards your body to do it. Some people just don't want to do it that way because their brain doesn't work that way. In that case, go to cold turkey, fine. Okay, so also on carnivore, I found that addictions were easier to wean. Dropped caffeine in 1 week, sweeteners in another, but unfortunately returned to sweeteners for the last week. Okay, yeah, so definitely try that then and see if it's the sweeteners or the dairy. And yeah, carnivore is great. I think low carb can be great as well, and I don't think that physiologically a low carb diet versus a carnivore diet is necessarily so different. In case there are any plant toxins that one would eat on a low carb diet versus a carnivore diet that affects your neurons in some way, yeah, maybe. Maybe that's worse. But what I think the big thing is with when you're on a low carb diet is that the amount or types of foods that you allow yourselves are so much greater. You have much more variety, you have much more wiggle room for what you're allowed to eat. So you will start negotiating here and negotiating there. So when you don't keep your own boundaries, that is really a lot easier to start having that mind drama and discussions with yourself about maybe I should just have so my example, I have some blueberries maybe, and I might in the beginning I might start weighing out 100 grams. Okay, now I learned how much 100 grams is. Well, it wasn't quite enough, but blueberries are okay. I'm allowing myself to have blueberries, and then that portion just like slowly growing in size until I have a whole plate full of them, and it might be 250 grams. So the amount of carbs is going to go from 10, 12 grams to twice or more that. In which case, all of a sudden, you're going from maintaining ketosis, for example, to maybe kicking yourself out of ketosis, depending on how many you have and what fruit, etc. So we just allow that wriggle room. But when you're going zero carb, we don't eat carbs. If you're on a carnivore diet, you don't have any carbs. So there is no wriggle room. There is no space for negotiating about having anything. So all of a sudden you kind of cut that off. You have just committed to doing that. You don't allow room for that. And all of a sudden it's much easier to deal with anything. And once you deal with one addiction, it's easier to deal with another, I say, unless you are kind of substituting an addiction for another. How would I comment on why you and Bart occasionally have rice, yogurt, blueberries? Could it be hormonally or just you just feel better on a very low carb occasionally? I have never felt good on carnivore. It's as simple as that. He's just a food addict, so he's doing whatever I'm doing. I think he's doing a lot better being strict carnivore, but when he sees me eating it, it's just like he has to have it as well. So after having had, I can't remember how many weeks, like a stupid amount of weeks of headaches and migraines, when I started eating carbs again, that went away. I don't want headaches. It totally destroys my life because I'm incapable of doing what I want to do. I can't enjoy doing anything. Just going for a walk is painful. So I can't exercise. I don't look forward to my walks, which I normally do. Um, I don't get work done. I'm tired. I have to have naps and I'm still tired. I don't get anything done. It's like I'm just living in this vacuum and I don't feel good. So why would I do that? If adding a bit of carbs is better for me, then that's what I'm going to do. Very recently, I accidentally, I say, went 7 days being extremely low carb. I'm not saying no carb, but there weren't many carbs there. And the headaches started to come back. So I'm kind of making sure that I'm eating like a sweet potato or some rice or something at least every 2, 3 days right now. And it's working. I still have headaches on and off, but they're very, very mild. So I'm kind of playing around with that. Today, no headache at all for now. Do you believe if someone would commit to, for example, ribeye and salt to taste for 90 days, that no matter what the cravings tell you, you should be fine, like hardcore craving ignore if possible? Yes, absolutely. I don't like ignoring because that implies that you are not. When you're ignoring something, you're not dealing with the underlying reasons for why you are having this craving. So I like to separate cravings being physiological cravings, which is when the insulin is going up and, you know, up and down, and the blood sugar is following along, it's going up and down, or the other way around, actually. It's a hormonal thing. And if I eat a lot of carbs today, I know that tomorrow I'm going to be more hungry than usual because my body's going to expect that that is going to happen again. So there's kind of a limit to how many carbs I can have without having that side effect. I'm never binging on carbs. I never eat 300 grams of carbs in a day or even 200 grams. Maybe I get up to 100 on occasion, but I'm still considerably low carb. So if I talk to anyone who's eating a normal standard American diet or whatever, they're going to think that I'm very low carb. It's just that I have some of them. And I'm fine. Sometimes I can notice a little bit, but it might be because of something else. It's not necessarily because of the carbs, but we have physiological cravings. So that's usually hormonally related. And then we have the psychological cravings, which is the emotional part. It's the when we are triggering a craving, we are used to acting in a specific way. So this is like a habit loop that we have. Once step one happens, we want to do step two, and then we want to do step three. So I have a trigger. For me, it used to be like having dinner. Every time after dinner, I would have a craving and I would want something sweet. So the trigger here was having dinner. That made me think about having a dessert of some kind. And then I would feel compelled to go and get something. So I would go and check the cupboard or the fridge, or in some cases, even go to the shops to get something if I didn't have something, or I would bake something because I really wanted it. And the thing is that this is very situation specific. So if I had just allowed that craving to be there and not reacted to it, just like letting it be there and being okay with it being there, not ignoring it, I would have been fine. If I had, sometimes I would start baking something and that's going to take, let's say, an hour. By that time, I wouldn't really have that craving anymore because that situation is now kind of past. But of course, I would eat it anyway. But the thing is that we want to follow through with this habit loop because we are programmed to do it that way. And when we don't do it, we will feel really uncomfortable. And that's why we want to get up and do something and check the cupboards. So that part you need to deal with and just allow the cravings to be there rather than ignoring them, because ignoring is always going to come back and bite you in the ass again. Right, I'm a completely different person physically and mentally since I started my journey. My mother is approaching pre-diabetes. Any suggestions to ease her into that way of eating? I mean, keep doing what you were talking about. Reduce it with, 1 to 5% every day. So if she's not fully on board with removing all the carbs, I mean, there might be low carb alternatives that will be as satisfying to her, but also maybe focus on when she's having dinner, for example, reducing the main starchy portion of that dinner, making it smaller every day. Depends on how far she wants to go. If she really wants to be low carb, like she wants to be, not you want her to be, then even, a keto low carb diet. Do we need mashed potatoes? Can we have cauliflower mash, for example? You have saved a lot of carbs there. So yeah, totally depends on what she wants to do, what she's prepared to do. It's hard for me to say because I don't know your mom. And the best thing is if she's designing what she's doing, then she's going to be on board. Okay. The hardest part to drop was smoking. I have 3 out of 5 days home office since Jabba time, and it really is hard to drop that when you live on your own without restrictions. Any advice on that? Very, very interesting, because most people would say that when you live with someone who's having the same habit that you want to drop, that is the hardest thing that you can do. So now you're on your own. Who's stopping you? Like, there's no other temptation than your brain. You are the one who's deciding to do it. There's no one there to push you or force you to do it. So that's very, very interesting that you think that. I mean, without restrictions, I know this sounds harsh and you probably don't mean it like that, but without restrictions, it sounds like you want someone to tell you that you shouldn't be doing it. But what if you tell yourself that you shouldn't be doing it, or that you don't, even better, that you don't want to do it? Right? So why do you want to quit smoking? Is it important for some reason? And if it is, what is that reason? And are you happy with that reason? Is it a good reason to want to stop smoking? And then you can look at the other side of the coin as well. Like, what are the reasons that you continue to smoke? Is it just because it's a habit and that is something that you do and that you are avoiding negative emotions? Probably you are working at home and every time it feels like, can't be bothered to do this, you want to go for a smoke. Like, allow that feeling to just be there. Yes, okay, I can't be bothered to do this, I'm going to feel this and I'm going to do it anyway without smoking. It's really not rocket science, but our brains are so programmed to do it this way that we want to continue doing it that way. So I would start with just having a look at why you want to stop and why you don't want to stop. And that could be enough. For some people, that's enough. It's like, okay, I didn't have any reasons for why I didn't want to stop. Or the reasons that I want to continue doing this is just bullshit. But all the reasons that I wanted to stop, I really like those reasons and I can emotionally connect with them. So sometimes we just say words, but we don't really emotionally connect with them. And then it's going to be hard to use them as motivation. So just have a look at that. That's the first thing I would do. And then you could do the same thing as you do with other stuff. Okay, how many times do I want to smoke today? Plan it, allow yourself to smoke that many times, guilt-free, but no more. And then you just keep planning and following your plan and cutting down slowly. I believe that cottage cheese is my addiction brain telling me I need even the little sweet feeling. So that's why I added it back and currently I pay the price. Yeah, okay. So just get rid of it again. It really is that simple. You did without it before. You want a lot of it now. And now you're allowed yourself. It tastes good. Reinforcing that behavior because it feels good, it tastes good, and you're having really good thoughts about cottage cheese. You're like, oh, it's just like a little bit of a sweet feeling here, and I really love that. And this is my only little treat, and it's still carnivore. But the result of you eating that is that you're probably not feeling well. I mean, you have to try that out, but let's say that the cheese is the problem, and that is the reason that you're not doing well. Is it worth that? Is there something else that you could bring in if you really want something, or do you rather just teach yourself to not treat food as any sort of entertainment at all? So these are all choices and things that you might want to think about. That what do you want to do? It's all up to you. But you need to be acting in a way where you are able to trust yourself and able to live in integrity with who you are and who you want to be. And that's a lot of the time a problem because we want to be someone or act in a certain way. Like I wanted to not want sugar, but my brain was like, no, I don't think so. We can't live without sugar. So there's like competing desires in my brain. Now I'm like, well, I do not really want sugar. I still think that sweet things taste better than not sweet things. So sometimes we're having this. We eat Greek yogurt, and the same brand that is doing the Greek yogurt is doing a vanilla flavored one, and it doesn't really have any more carbs in it. I think maybe 1 gram more, something like that. It's not a lot. So I got that one, and it's much nicer, of course, because it's a little bit sweeter. It has a different taste, and it goes really well with the blueberries. And then my brain goes to, oh, this is dessert, and now I want to have more of it. So I have to kind of have a look at myself. Okay, but if this wasn't slightly sweet, what would I do then? Then I would probably have this much, and then I stick with that because that's what I have decided to do. But sometimes they don't have this yogurt in stock. And then they send us random shit yogurt, like a different. Last time we got a low fat, super sweet vanilla yogurt. And it's here, and was like, well, okay, I'll just eat it. And I'm like, this is really good. Like my brain is just like, wow, that was good. So now when I'm getting the normal yogurt with very few carbs in, this is not as much fun. But I know that that is what I want to eat because I don't want to get into this habit of having a lot of sweet stuff. That's not who I want to be, how I want to be around food. I just want to feel relaxed around food. I want to be able to eat the things that I I want to like them. I'm not going to eat stuff that I don't like, but I also want it to be good for me. So I'm having like a very fine line between just nutrition and some pleasure from eating food just because I really think that they're tasting nice. And then I combine that with I see carbs right now as a way for me to, it's almost like medication. It's a therapeutic use of carbs to avoid the headaches. I could go for rice because I think that is the most boring carb ever. I don't really like it. And I'm just putting it on my plate to eat it to get those carbs to avoid the headaches. I like sweet potatoes, the red variety, and I like blueberries. And I would find it a lot easier to overeat on them. So I just need to kind of control my brain. But none of them makes me feel bad. If I was having any type of carb that made me feel bad, I would just substitute it with something else. Number 8. So you would suggest never ignoring cravings, sitting through cravings like you worked out with Alex lots of times, building new neural pathways, right? Yes, absolutely. We don't want to ignore stuff. It's like, you know, these buoys, that floaty things that you tie boats to, etc. If you push one of them down, it would just like come back with a vengeance. So when you let go, it will just bounce up and hit you in the head. It's the same thing with the cravings. When we ignore them, it's like, yeah, you're not there, I'm not going to see you. And they're all like festering in the back of your mind. And then, boom, they're just going to come back and overwhelm you at some point where your brain feels like it has a chance of actually succeeding. And that's when you're going to get these overwhelming cravings or urges and just like, oh, it's too much, I can't take it. And you're just going to give in. So you don't want to ignore them because it will come back at some point. I had lots of times where in the late evenings I would drop a craving and just go to bed, but yesterday I binged on 7 eggs, 300 grams of meat, and 200 grams of cottage cheese. Potty break today was awful. Okay. I mean, I'm in two minds about that. I don't like out of control eating. That's never necessarily a good thing. But I think that sometimes it's because we don't really listen to our bodies. Your body might have actually been telling you that I'm hungry, I need more food for some reason. Maybe you should listen to it. And maybe you were ignoring it all day long, and then in the evening you were like, oh, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. And then that happened. I have times, usually 1 or 2 days before my period starts, I'm just like in eating mode. And I know what's going to happen. I'm like, okay, I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat. And I can literally go and eat all day. Like, I have my normal breakfast, and then I might have lunch that I usually don't have, and I have dinner, and then I'm having some cheese or salami in between, and I might even have something in the evening, even though I usually don't do that. But sometimes it's just like, okay, I know this is hormonal, this is not a problem. My body's just hungry, and I'm gonna let it have whatever it wants right now, as long as it's good foods. So I don't go and binge on blueberries or whatever, carbs. I binge on the good foods because I'm genuinely hungry and I'm just listening to my body and I'm giving it that. And then after a day or two, it's gone. I'm good. And usually I find that there is like this um, rebound effect on it. It's like a few days later, my appetite is just reduced for whatever reason. It's like it needs to compensate for the overeating. Fine, I'm going to listen to my body again and just like, okay, I'm full now, I don't have to eat more. I believe the smoking habit is just the habit part. Since I am 32 and did it for 16 years, physically it is half my life, not even gaining the hit of it. Yeah, so that's just tolerance that has built up, and it doesn't take 16 years to build it up. But what is happening is that the first time you're smoking, you will probably get a huge hit from it, and it feels really good. And your brain is just registering all of this, and then it will continue to look for this hit every time. But the next time, Your brain has already adjusted, so it has downregulated some of the receptors for the dopamine, and you smoke the same amount, and you get a little bit less reward. And then your brain is like, okay, maybe we have to smoke more. And then you want to smoke a little bit more. And that just goes on and on and on until you don't have very many of the dopamine receptors left. So now you have to smoke massive amounts just to feel normal, to fill those dopamine receptors. So this amount that you will engage, if you like, is the same as a person who's not addicted to anything will have without doing anything. It's just like the normal state. So you need to smoke to get to the normal state. And as soon as you remove that, you are on minus. So you will feel bad in some way. You will feel depressed, most likely, and very fidgety and uncomfortable. And this doesn't feel good. So we need something else to get that dopamine up. And that's when we want to substitute with something else. So if you committed to not smoking, you might be, if you don't allow the cravings, you might be like, okay, what can I do? I shall just have some cake. Or maybe I should drink some wine. Or I'm just going to watch Netflix all day because I can't be bothered to do anything else. And that will give you some sort of dopamine, an amount of dopamine to make you feel a bit more like normal again. So you just have to go through this phase when you don't feed your brain a lot of dopamine to give your brain a chance to upregulate those receptors so that it can react to the normal amount of dopamine that you release when you're not doing all of these addictive things. It's just science or biology, if you like. That's just how it works. So you have already prematurely experienced all that pleasure from smoking, and now you have to pay the price. So if we always want to be level, feel normal, in the beginning you felt up here, so now you're going to have to feel down there for a bit before you can go up to normal. You have a deficiency that you have to pay back. That's quite a good way of seeing it. I like that. Yeah, even though I feel like crap after chasing the dragon. Yeah, because it's just like you're doing it just to feel normal. That's not a lot of fun. Bev, good to see you. We have one other person commenting. Hooray! Okay, no one in my real life wants to hear about my way of eating. Carnivore social media is my happiest as far as how and what I eat. Yeah, okay, so excuse me. Just have a sip of this. I've always found that as well. It's like no one wants to know what the fuck you're eating. They don't give a shit. And especially if you are eating in a way that they might want to eat, but they don't think that they would ever be able to do. Or if you have had really good results from changing your diet to eating that way, they don't really want to know about it because they want your results, but they don't want to do what you're doing. And they definitely don't want you to tell them that they should do that if they want those results. That's just human nature. Some people will eventually get a bit curious. So what I would recommend is just like be your own advocate. Like be happy that you're doing this for you. We don't need to tell everyone. We just need to feel really confident that we have made the right choice for us and for our bodies, and that we are doing ourselves a favor. I like to, I don't know if I can make, if this makes any sense. I like to, I mean, you don't have a problem with eating this way, which is great. But when people do, so let me start again. I always use my dogs as an analogy because it's really easy for me to see. So when people can't eat this way because they find it hard to think that they're worth it or prioritizing it for whatever reason, I would say that I feed my dogs the best diet that I think that I can give them because I love them. I would never go and feed them some kibble or cake or whatever, no matter how much they like it. Yes, it will make them really happy in the moment because they love eating. And or even I won't even overfeed them because then they will get fat. even on a raw prey model. They can get fat if they overeat. And I wouldn't do that to them because I want what's best for them. So I want to give them the best food. I want to give them the amount of food that they need and for optimal health. And I want them to be happy all over. So I don't want them to just be happy in the moment when they're eating. I want them to be happy all the time and as healthy as they can possibly be. So I'm going to do whatever I can do to make that happen and to control that. And the thing is that you can do that for yourself, but you can't do that for other people. So what I would recommend is just like do your thing, go out in the world, be this Bev that is just like thriving, feeling so freaking good, and be a really good example of what you can do when you are confident in your food choices and when you found something that is working for you. People will come and start asking you, like, what sort of diet are you on? Then you can tell them because now they've asked and then they're interested. But if you're just like raving about your diet all the time, they're gonna be, oh, jeez, I don't want to hear more about that. No matter how good your results are, especially then. It's just very interesting. Um, Thank you so very much for all the answers. I will try to incorporate all the information in my way of eating. I will contact you through email for a basic concept for pushing more information on my family. Yes, but you needed to listen to that answer as well. But yeah, we can discuss how to best approach this. But if you want to change, if it's more than your mom or just your mom, think about like you need to talk to her about what she wants to do, or if she's not able to do that for herself or whatever, then how can you make this into something that she will like? So we don't want to push it on anyone in a way that they would be resentful or not liking it. We want to make it as good as possible and as sustainable as possible. The moment they believe they are responsible for their composition, they don't want to know. Yeah. Yeah, we don't like that. I mean, it's much easier to just say, "Oh, God, I'm fat or I'm sick or whatever. I'm just getting old." That's what happens because everyone who's getting old will get diabetes and get overweight or whatever. It's a lot easier to just blame circumstances, but when you know that you can do something about it, it's not that easy. I sometimes I'm having some mind drama about it. And I have been eating extremely well for a very long period of time. I still have some excess weight on my body. And I'm like, what's going on here? Okay, sure. I'm 45 years old. I'm female. Those two factors are going to make it harder. But there must be some inflammation going on as well. And if you followed me for a while, you know that I have some sinus problems that I've had since I was about 20. And I'm trying all sorts of things to sort that out. And right now, I'm doing a borax protocol to deal with if there's a fungal infection, and I've seen some improvement, but still there's like a limit to it. I'm going to continue doing it. And I'm doing a few other things. And I've noticed that things are happening, but when you kill off something like candida or something, you can get a backlash. And sometimes it seems like something is happening and I gain like 2 kilos overnight, which is crazy because I haven't even eaten that amount in food the previous day. So I know that it's just fluid. So it's just inflammation. My body's holding on to that. So it's not necessarily fat, but the scales is just jumping up. And then I start feeling better. And all of a sudden, I'm dropping like 2 kilos or 3 kilos or whatever. It's just like my weight since I started doing that is just really fluctuating. And I can wake up in the morning and I have like really stiff finger joints. I used to have that when I was inflamed many years ago, quite often. I haven't had it for a very long period of time, and now I had it probably 5 times, 5 mornings in the last couple of weeks. And every time that happens, my weight is up. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. But I'm working on it. And right now, I have to just accept that, yes, I am responsible for my body composition, but the right solution for me isn't to go on a very low calorie diet or something. The right solution for me right now is to fight that inflammation, whatever it is that is happening in my body, because that is probably what's in the way for me. So it's not always as easy as food. And sometimes we just have to explore, try things, see, okay, what's working, what's not working. So if diet isn't working and you actually tried good ways of doing this, um, then maybe there is actually something else going on. Yay, Bev has had great results. Yeah, so that's perfect. And they would be like, she looks really freaking good now. And you're like, yeah, I'm a carnivore. Like Barry said, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. Yeah, it's definitely not your fault. Your body, your brain, all of it is in an environment that is completely unnatural. That's not what it's made for. So it's your responsibility to make sure that you're putting yourself in an environment that you want to be in, that you were made for, unfortunately. The only difference between dogs and children is that you won't see a tantrum in a dog straying in the sugar aisle in a supermarket, even though you should treat them the same. Yeah. Um, one of my dogs have temper tantrums, sort of. She will just squeak. If there is food, like if I'm eating and she thinks that she should have some, she's not doing it with me. That's the funny thing. She's doing it with Bart because I don't know. She won't get away with anything with me, but she might with him. So she's behaving completely different, and she's being a complete retard with him. Excuse the language. She will just like climb and spin around and squeak and get really opportunistic and try to jump on him. And God knows, and she would never do that with me. She knows that's not going to fly with me. So she's not doing that. So that's circumstantial. That's something that she's learned that that might work with him, but that definitely doesn't work with me. And I'm the alpha, so she has to do what I say. So dogs do have him, just not in the sugar aisle in the supermarket. But she will get over it. Like if we don't feed her anything and we leave the table, then she's like wagging her own, trying to be a little bit optimistic, and then like, okay, nothing happened, and she'll go and sulk on the sofa or something. I feel so good eating carnivore. If people would just do it for 3 months, the difference is how they feel. They would love it. Yeah, well, that didn't work for me. I felt good for maybe a month out of the 3. But if I had come from a sad diet, that would have been a huge improvement. I still feel the best when I'm doing very low carb keto with some days of higher carbs. And when I say higher carbs, I'm talking about maybe 50, 60 grams of carbs. It's not even high carb, it's just some carbs. Exactly, whatever works to get the treat. But that's how your primitive part of the brain is working as well. It will try everything. Like, yeah, okay, he's not smoking, but we want to smoke. What should we do? Yeah, it makes him feel a little bit uncomfortable, or maybe we should get a headache, or it, or think that we have a headache. Sometimes this is very, very interesting. You think that, oh, I haven't smoked, maybe I will get a headache. And then you start thinking about it, and you will find every single little niggle in your head and translate that as, that's probably the beginning of a headache. I better go and eat something or smoke or whatever, drink coffee. So we will kind of create things that we haven't noticed out of something that is just normal, that we wouldn't have thought about otherwise. So the brain will try all sorts of tactics to get you to do what it wants you to do, to relieve that tension that is building up. It's kind of funny. Because of you, Bart, and the carnivore tribes, my life is so much happier. Thank you sincerely. Yay, Bev, I love it. It is fucking awesome. Excuse my language. Oh, I wasn't even going to go for an hour today, but we're almost up to an hour. Anyhow, it's I don't care what you eat. If you feel great, hooray. That's all I care about. I care about people having knowledge. I believe that a carnivore diet is probably ideal, but then I think everyone has been through a lot in their lives, and not everyone can actually go on that diet and feel great right now. And maybe they never will be able to do that. Or maybe they will in 10 years' time after having weaned themselves down there or whatever. So just because I'm not 100% carnivore doesn't mean that I don't think that that is an ideal diet. It's just that right now it's not working for me. I would like it to work for me because that makes things very, very simple. And I'm going to start trying something different for myself probably next week because I need to put a little bit thought into it, etc. And I have so much to do this week, so I'm like, I don't want to think about that. I'm gonna try a very, very high fat carnivore diet, and I'm gonna try to go for a week. I'm gonna give it a week to see if I get headaches again and see if that makes any difference. Because I have done high-ish fat carnivore and not seen a difference, but now I have the freezer full of beef fat that I've got, and I'm gonna try to eat a lot more fat. I'll see how much I can get in because I've noticed I've tried a little bit and there is a point when I start feeling sick from eating it. But in general, I find that eating fat is so much more palatable than eating the actual meat. So I'm gonna play around with that. I'm gonna see what's happening, and I'm gonna try to make it into a 80% fat minimum carnivore diet and just see how I feel, what is happening, etc. Because I would like to figure out a way of eating carnivore that doesn't give me those headaches. And it's not like I don't want to eat sweet potatoes or blueberries because I like them, but it would make things so much easier if I didn't have to think about, oh, how many days ago since I ate carbs? Now I have to eat some because otherwise I might not feel good. So there is a little bit of fear in me that I'm going to go back to that state. And once a headache starts for me, it's usually quite hard for me to get rid of it. It's just like it stretches out over several days. So if I get it today, I know that the next couple of days are not going to be ideal either for me anyway. So yeah, I might tell you about it. I don't know where, because I don't have any general live streams. Maybe I should start doing like a general live stream Q&A thing every week as well. It was quite fun when I did that before. Thanks so much for all your info. You're welcome. I hope your project works out for you. Yes, so do I. At least I will know. And I like fat, so it will be cool. Just be ready to go to the bed, I guess. Babe. Bathroom quickly. Oh. Why? Yes, okay, sorry. Okay, so that was all the comments. I don't know if strict time, if you actually had some questions or why we needed to know about the bathroom, but that's fine. If we're gone, we're gone. Yeah, exactly. Carnivore is so easy as far as what I'm going to eat. Yeah, we don't need to spend a lot of time thinking about it. The only thing I need to spend time thinking about is, do I have enough meat? And right now there's a beef shortage in this house because I like to stock up when they are selling beef um, on offer, and they haven't done that for weeks and weeks. I mean, last time I think I bought like 15 kilo of rump steak, and it's just like gone. But what I like to do with beef is just like cut it up, put some salt on it, put it on a cutting board or something in the fridge, and then I just take a steak out, fry it. Perfect. If I'm more hungry, I'll just fry another one. It's just so easy and adaptable, so I don't have to think too much about it. I do have a bag of beef fat in the fridge, so I can always go and get that. That's good. Let's see. If you go high fat, you will have a looser bowel. We'll see. I haven't noticed that before because I'm not low fat right now. I think it's like everyone has their own stuff that they struggle with. So for Bart, for example, it will always come out as some sort of gastric distress. For me, it's always headaches or sinus problems or something like that. My tummy has always, my whole life, been really good. I've never suffered from a lot of, diarrhea or constipation, just like on occasion, but generally, it's like I can throw anything into my stomach and I will be fine, except for too much calcium or magnesium citrate. I think the citrate's doing something. So magnesium citrate, that will give me the shits. Calcium citrates will give me stomach pains. Really, really strange. But when we're talking about food, I can throw anything at it and it will be fine. So digestion issues have never been a problem for me or anything like that. So we'll see. But I will let you know. I think I'm probably eating. I don't even know. On a day, it probably varies on a daily basis, but anywhere from 50 to 65% fat, energy percent, that is. And I want to get that up to 80. But some days I probably have a lot more. Some meals I eat a lot of beef fat and very little protein, and I'm fine. So it will be interesting to see as well. Righty. Oh, okay. So we are done. And what I said in the beginning, if you are watching now and you want to take part in the challenge that I'm starting on the 22nd of August, New Zealand time, or 21st of August, that's a Sunday for the US, where we are spending 5 days to change our habits. Once I've finalized everything, I have a few more things to sort out that will be done today. I'll put the link up in the description to this video so that you can sign up for that and we can do it together. It will be a lot of fun. So that was that. That was all I had for you today. And yeah, 1 hour. Jesus. I thought it was going to be 20 minutes, but there you go. Thanks for all the questions. It was fun. I like having questions to answer, and I'm happy that you were here talking to me. So I will see you again next week, same time, same day. Hopefully, Alex will be able to show up and we shall continue with the coaching. If you have any other questions, you know where to find me. You're welcome. Okay. Bye. You take care.